The ancient legacy pillars of the world in trade and economy refer to the systems of commerce, exchange, and economic organization that were developed by ancient civilizations. These economic practices and networks not only shaped the wealth and power of ancient societies, but also facilitated cultural diffusion and technological advancements. Here are the key pillars that shaped trade and economic systems in the ancient world. 1. Mesopotamian trade and economy. Mesopotamia, particularly in the cities of Sumer, Babylon, and Assyria, developed extensive trade routes that connected them to regions across the ancient world. These networks spanned from the Indus Valley to Anatolia, the Levant, and Egypt. Mesopotamians traded a variety of goods including grain, textiles, timber, precious metals, and stones. They also engaged in the exchange of luxury items such as lapis lazuli from Afghanistan and cedar wood from Lebanon. Barter systems were common, but the use of silver and grain as forms of currency began to emerge as trade expanded. Economic organization. Mesopotamians established state-controlled economies in which rulers and temples regulated agricultural production, and large estates worked by slaves and laborers produced goods for both domestic and foreign trade. The development of cuneiform writing allowed for the recording of transactions, inventories, and taxes, facilitating more organized and extensive trade. 2. Egyptian trade and economy. Ancient Egypt, with its strategic location along the Nile River, became a central hub for trade. The Egyptians traded grain, linen, papyrus, and papyrus scrolls, as well as luxury items such as gold, ivory, incense, and precious stones. Egypt's trade routes connected them to the Levant, Nubia, the Horn of Africa, Mesopotamia, and even regions in Asia Minor and the Aegean. The Egyptians also sent expeditions to obtain cedar wood from the Lebanon mountains and ebony from sub-Saharan Africa. Economic organization. The economy was heavily controlled by the pharaoh and the temples, which acted as large economic entities managing agricultural production, trade, and labor. Grain was a primary source of wealth, and the taxation system was based on the land and harvests. The Nile played a critical role in transport and irrigation, enabling Egypt to maintain a robust agricultural economy. 3. Indus Valley trade and economy. The Indus Valley civilization, circa 3300–1300 BCE, with cities like Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro had sophisticated trade networks connecting to the Persian Gulf, Mesopotamia, and possibly even regions in Southeast Asia. They traded goods like cotton, wool, beads, precious stones, and metals. The Indus seal stones found in Mesopotamia suggest a form of early branding or identification used in trade. The Indus also had maritime trade routes, with ports along the Arabian Sea, facilitating long-distance trade. Economic organization. The economy was likely based on agrarian production, with standardized weights and measures used for trade, reflecting a well-organized system. The presence of granaries in Harappa indicates the importance of food storage for both local consumption and trade, suggesting a centrally organized economic structure. 4. Greek trade and economy. Ancient Greece was located at the crossroads of Europe, Asia, and Africa, making it a pivotal point for maritime and overland trade. Cities like Athens, Corinth, and Delphi were major trade hubs. The Greeks traded goods like olive oil, wine, pottery, textiles, and metals. They also engaged in the exchange of luxury goods, such as precious metals and ivory, often obtained through trade with Egypt and the Near East. Greek colonies around the Mediterranean and Black Sea regions created vast trade networks, facilitating the exchange of goods like grain, timber, slaves, and gold. Economic organization. Money began to be used widely. particularly silver coins, which were minted by various city-states like Athens, the Athenian owl, helping to standardize trade across the Greek world. The Greek economy was based on agriculture, grain, olives, wine, craftsmanship, and maritime trade. Slavery played a significant role in agricultural production and urban labor. 5. Roman trade and economy. The Roman Empire had an extensive trade network that spanned the Mediterranean, northern Europe, and parts of Africa and Asia. Rome and other cities like Alexandria and Carthage served as central hubs for commerce. The Romans traded goods like grain, wine, olive oil, textiles, and pottery. Luxury goods such as silk, spices, gold, ivory, and precious stones were imported from regions like India, China, and sub-Saharan Africa. The Roman Empire's vast network of roads and sea routes, including the Silk Road, facilitated the transport of goods, making the Roman economy one of the most interconnected in the ancient world. Economic organization. The Roman economy was a mix of agriculture, slavery, trade, and manufacturing. Currency, denarii, sestertii, was widely used. And the Romans developed a sophisticated system of taxation and banking. The state controlled large portions of the economy, particularly in terms of land, via latifundia, large estates, and state-owned industries like salt production and mining. The Romans developed a legal framework for contracts, trade agreements, and debt, creating an early form of modern economic systems. 6. Chinese trade and economy. Ancient China, particularly during the Han Dynasty, 206 BCE to 220 CE, established the Silk Road, a series of trade routes that connected China to Central Asia, the Middle East, and Europe. The Chinese traded silk, porcelain, tea, paper, and spices. In return, they received horses, precious stones, gold, and glassware from Central Asia and the Roman Empire. China also engaged in trade with Southeast Asia, India, and Korea, with goods such as silk and lacquerware making their way across East and South Asia. Economic organization. Agriculture was the backbone of the Chinese economy, with rice, wheat, and millet being the staple crops. Irrigation systems were developed to increase agricultural productivity. The Chinese economy also relied on craftsmanship, particularly in the production of silk, bronze, and ceramics. State-controlled monopolies on salt and iron further boosted state revenues. The state played a central role in managing trade, with regulations on markets and trade goods, as well as a system of currency, metal coins, that facilitated commerce. 7. Indian trade and economy. India was a central player in trade routes that spanned Asia, Africa, and the Mediterranean. Indian merchants traded spices, cotton, silk, ivory, pearls, and textiles. India's maritime trade routes were among the earliest and most extensive, linking the Indian subcontinent to Southeast Asia, the Arabian Peninsula, East Africa, and the Mediterranean. The Indian Ocean trade network became particularly important during the Gupta Empire, circa 320 to 550 CE, when India was a key supplier of spices and luxury goods. Economic organization. Agriculture was the cornerstone of the Indian economy, with rice, wheat, and cotton being grown on a large scale. Indian rulers facilitated trade by establishing marketplaces and regulating weights and measures. India also developed an early form of banking, with merchants offering credit and loans. And currency was used for commercial transactions, including gold coins issued by various Indian dynasties. 8. Mesoamerican trade and economy. Mesoamerican civilizations, such as the Olmecs, Mayans, and Aztecs, had extensive trade networks within Central America and beyond. The Aztecs developed a sophisticated system for trading goods like cacao, obsidian, cotton, and turquoise. The Maya engaged in long-distance trade, exchanging jade, cacao, and salt with other Mesoamerican societies, as well as with the Toltecs and Zapotecs. Economic organization. The Aztec economy was based on agriculture, tribute, and trade. They had a well-developed market system, including the famous Tlatelolco market in Tenochtitlan, where merchants traded goods in a bustling, organized environment. The Maya and Aztecs also used cacao beans as a form of currency, and trade was crucial to their political and social structures, with both states and elites benefiting from tribute and commerce. The ancient legacy pillars of the world in trade and economy reflect the innovative ways in which early civilizations established systems of exchange, production, and wealth distribution. These systems not only facilitated survival and prosperity but also fostered cultural interactions and laid the groundwork for the global economies that would follow in later centuries.